Okay, meeting's now live.
Thank you, Lisa. Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Councillor Susie Horton and I'm the chair of SACRE. Members of the public are invited to view this meeting online and the recording will be on the council's website. Members of this meeting are requested to keep their microphones on mute and to only turn these on when they are called to speak. If anyone would like to speak, if you could write RTS, request to speak, in the chat function, that would be very useful because we can't see everybody on the same screen. So if you're waving at us, we can't see you. And because it's a broadcast meeting, please don't use the chat function for anything else because it allows us to track it and also it will be visible to other people. So I'm just going to check who's present today. So I'm going to call out names and please confirm if you're here. Reverend Sam Duddles.
Yes, hello.
Hi, Sam. Taki Jaffa.
Yes, here. Thank you.
Hi, Taki.
Hi.
Sarah Coote. No. Sheikh Fazl Abbas Datu. Saeed Aminul Haq. Elizabeth Jenkinson.
Here.
Hi, Elizabeth. Christine Macmillan. Jeff Wheeler. I can see you waving. You happen to be on my screen. Hi, Jeff. Pastor Chris Thomas.
Yep, present.
Hi, Chris. Sandra Teacher.
Hello, good afternoon. I haven't got the chat function, so I'm not quite sure if I want to say something. How I'll manage. I'll have to try and wave or something.
Can you see a little
meters, turn right, and then
because I'm on my phone.
Oh, okay, you're on your phone. All right then. Akshat Mehta. Jaswant Singh Digpal. Barbara Spiegelhalter. Hi, Barbara. Sue Bowen.
Yes, hello everyone.
Hi, Sue. Jane Kelly.
Oh, yes, I'm here, sorry.
Hi, Jane. Corey Lang. Aisha Small. Debbie Lucas.
Hello.
Hi, Debbie. Gemma Self. Ali Beechhurst. Ryan Brent. Jessie Wilson.
Hi, Susie.
Hi, Jessie. Patricia Hannam.
Yes, I'm here.
Hi. Debbie Anderson.
Hi, yes, I'm here.
Hi, Debbie. And last but not least, Lisa Gallagher.
Hello, yes, I'm here.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to go through that list, everyone, and welcome to all of you who are here. Is there anyone else who's here who I haven't called out your name? Okay, we'll do apologies after, but we're going to go now to item 2, which is a moment of quiet reflection. And I understand Elizabeth has kindly said she will lead that today. So over to you.
Thank you. This is, I'm Baha'i, and this is something that the Baha'i International Community, which is the name of the representatives at the UN, go by. They're quoting from a letter that our governing body wrote. I have to say, I think it's a bit more aspirational, but I don't think it was meant to be. I don't know. Religion promotes upright character, instills forbearance, compassion, forgiveness, magnanimity, high-mindedness. It prohibits harm to others and invites souls to the plane of sacrifice that they may give of themselves for the good of others. It imparts a world-embracing vision and cleanses the heart from self-centeredness and prejudice. It inspires souls to build unity, to endeavor for material and spiritual betterment for all, to see their own happiness in that of others, to advance learning and science, to be an instrument of true joy, and to revive the body of humankind.
Shall we have like a couple of minutes where we can just ponder that?
Is now joining.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Elizabeth. That was, gosh, it makes you realise that just stopping for a couple of minutes makes such a difference to your day, doesn't it? That's really lovely. Thank you very much. We will now go on to item 3, which is the election of the chair and vice chair. Do you want me to hand over to you, Pat, at this point? Or do you want me to say anything first?
I'm trying to think. I think I can just say that SACRE will be aware that there were elections earlier on in the year, and this may have led to some changes, as well as the constitutional arrangements that we already exist in SACRE. And I think then I'll use that as the point to hand back to Susie. And then I would like to say something when you've made your announcement.
Okay, so the current chair and vice chair of SACRE, which is myself and Sam, were appointed in June 2019 for a period of 2 years in accordance with our constitution. I've spoken to Patricia to say that I'm actually going to not going to put myself forward for that again for another further 2 years, but also that I'm going to take the opportunity to step back from SACRE altogether. And it won't be a surprise for people to know that it's more about my stretched responsibilities rather than any feelings that I have about SACRE, which I have thoroughly enjoyed being part of, and many people on this call know that actually my first responsibility as a new teacher was for RE in a school, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and therefore was committed from the beginning about the importance of it for young people in their own lives, but also in creating tolerance in our communities. So I've enjoyed doing it, but the fact of the matter is now that I'm deputy leader, as well as keeping hold of my previous responsibilities for children, families and education, that I'm having to acknowledge that even I can't keep up with everything, and I've always been committed to doing a job to the best of my ability. So I think it's time to hand over to someone else. So I'll hand back to Patricia now.
So the first thing I would like to do in response to that is, if it's appropriate, to note SACRE's thanks, immense thanks for the commitment that Councillor Horton has given to SACRE over the last 2 years. I could be more effusive, but others might want to support what I'm saying, but I think it would be nice to have that very, very, very thoroughly limited. Always responding to emails and contacts and being. So if we could minute our immense thanks to Susie for her commitment to SACRE over the last 2 years. And we'll miss you. And completely understand. If it would be right to say is that we are waiting for councillors to be appointed in a meeting that's going to happen next week.
I think that raises a good point. I need to check in with Lisa. I think it might be the case that now this has been done officially, that then that notice goes out to councillors again. There has been an initial notice about filling spaces on bodies, but we might need to recirculate it because technically there wasn't a space when the initial list was circulated. But I don't know whether Lisa needs. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, I understand that Cabinet are considering this on Tuesday as part of the outside body appointments. So yeah, we can make a note that you've formally stood down from the SACRE. So there is a councillor vacancy.
So that's really good. Susie has indicated she's willing to chair this meeting. So I think if that's okay, Susie, it's Councillor Horton to stay at this meeting. Our Vice Chair has indicated that she would be willing to step up to chair, which is great. But I'm wondering, in light of the councillor appointments coming next week, whether we should postpone the formal 2-year appointments until the autumn. That's my proposal. Alternatively, SACRE can say no, let's appoint our Vice Chair, who's very experienced, to step up to chair at this point, and then we could leave the Vice Chair until next time.
So are there any views on that? So basically Sam could step up into my role, and then you'd look to getting a new Vice Chair in the autumn, or I carry on chairing this meeting and you just leave all of it until the autumn. Any views on that? I better put my chat on and then I can see.
I'm sorry, I haven't got the chat. It's Sandra Teacher. But my view would be, if I may speak, my view would be that we should appoint the Vice Chair, because I think it's important to have continuity rather than leaving the positions vacant.
Okay, so
Turn right.
So can I just confirm the proposal is that our Vice Chair steps up to chair for this meeting, so that we do that now? Is that what you're suggesting, Sandra?
And then
I wasn't necessarily suggesting it for this meeting, but there might be things that come up during the summer where we need somebody in position. So rather than having a vacancy, that we have somebody already in place for the summer period.
Okay. So there was a proposal that we. I don't think we need to vote unless anybody. We normally do these things very consensual, and it's obvious that Sam will make a good. Yeah, our proposal is that Sam takes the chair from now.
are you happy to? Is there any objections to that? I think it seems sensible. In which case, do we need, Lisa, do we need a seconder for that?
Yes, if we could have a seconder, please. Yeah.
Okay. So Debbie, I can see waving in front, and also Elizabeth as well. So there's quite a few. So it seems to be a general consensus. That's great. So we'll put Debbie down as the official seconder. And are we suggesting then you want to, I think, Sandra, were you suggesting that we also appoint the Vice Chair now rather than leaving it?
I don't mind, but I think it's important that we have a chair in place, at least, and then we can think about the position of vice chair, unless there's somebody very appropriate who's willing to stand.
Well, also, I guess a lot of people didn't have much notice of this. So if Sam is happy to chair, so it covers that situation over the summer, maybe it is sensible to let people ponder about whether they want to go for vice chair. And also, presumably, there'll be other people. There'll definitely be another councillor coming on board. So I don't know what their views are. Should we do that then? Okay, decision made. That's great. So, well, shall I hand over to you, Sam, then? Are you okay to take over now? Have you got the rest of it?
It's entirely up to you. Do you want to go in?
No, I'm happy for you to step in. Have you got the agenda?
I have, and I've got your notes as well.
Okay, fabulous. I will hand over to you then.
Well, thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to continue our meeting. I'd just like to thank you all very much for accepting me as chair, and we'll go through this as steadily and gently as we possibly can. So now we move on to item 4. Any apologies that we haven't received yet? We have received apologies from Maria Cole, John Mills and Councillor Coles.
I'm not aware of any further apologies, Chair.
Super. Thank you. So therefore we will move on to item 5. Anybody needing to declare a member's interest? Thank you, Elizabeth. Item 6.
You don't need me to say what it is.
Well, do you want to say it?
Oh, okay. I'm a judge for the West Hill Trust, which gives grants to SACREs. So,
thank you. I know you've got to do that every time, but at least it's clear what it is. Item 6, minutes of the previous meeting on the 3rd of March 2021. For those who were present. Is it a true and accurate record? And do I have a proposer to approve those minutes? Wave a hand or stick up a hand. Oh my goodness, who do I choose? Should we have Jane? Jane Kelly, and then a seconder. Susie Horton, thank you, Councillor Susie. And the minutes of the previous meeting have therefore been approved. Item 7, any matters arising from the minutes that are not listed in the agenda. I'm going to take that silence that there are no items to talk about. And moving on to item 8, a report from Patricia. I'm going to mute myself so that and hand over to you.
Okay, so in the papers people have the membership report. So what we do have is we could that screen. Would it be helpful to look at membership? We'll have this would anything so, the membership report is as it stands.
I wonder if you could mute yourself. I think it's interrupting.
So the report stands on for itself. That we're welcoming Barbara Spiegelhalter as humanist representative, Jeff Wade as a reserve, and we're also co-opting Jessie Wilson, who's here from the Council of Portsmouth Students. This is a very exciting move for us. Portsmouth SACRE, for a number of years, we've been looking to have some direct contact with young people with a view to setting up a SACRE youth voice. And it's been very timely that we have contact now with the reinvigorated Council of Portsmouth Students. And this is Jessie's first meeting but subsequently there are some plans of how we may proceed to get more young people involvement. I've given a little bit of background there to the makeup of the group of SACRE for those people who are newer to SACRE. And very importantly, we are still looking for some new members, as noted here. We also have one further resignation. Can I just check that, Lisa, we get names correct?
Sorry, just bear with me a second. Yeah, it was the Methodist Methodist represent. Yes, John Mills has resigned as the Methodist representative.
He's moving away, and we are hopeful now, but that's just come in the last couple of days. So we need to add that to the report and to the minutes. And so we're now looking for another Methodist member of SACRE. Just for new SACRE members, it's really important that we keep all the groups of SACRE well representative, and behind the scenes we do a lot of work in between to make sure that is happening. Enables us to do more work. So I think that's the membership report.
Thank you very much, Pat. And are there any comments or questions from SACRE members? Is everyone in agreement?
Just
yes. Chris and then Barbara.
I noticed that Barbara's here from the Humanist Association. Is that normal too? Because as a standing advisory committee on religious education, is humanism regarded as a religion, or how does that work?
Well, I'm here as representing non-religious people, but I was about to say how proud I am of Portsmouth for putting me in Group A, because although there are 40 SACREs across the country that have humanists on board, they're not always in Group A. Sometimes they're in Groups C and D, sometimes they're co-opted, sometimes they're just observers. But under various human rights and fair, equitable distribution, humanism is included. It is a set of beliefs.
Okay, thank you.
So this is an aspect of Portsmouth SACRE Constitution, which has recently been reflected on in the last 2 years. Yeah.
Thank you very much, and welcome to you all. It's good to have new faces, and we look forward to journeying with you as we continue. And on to item 9, brief updates or notifications of items to be brought forward to a future meeting. Does anyone have anything to raise?
Sam, yes, I do. So at our next meeting, we will be preceded by an agreed syllabus conference meeting. So in the meeting in the autumn, will be preceded by the agreed syllabus conference, where I will present to you the proposed Living Difference 4. So we've been reviewing the agreed syllabus over the last year and a half, and many of you here have had an opportunity to be involved in a number of different meetings where we've discussed different proposals. I'd say the heart of the syllabus remains the same in a cycle of inquiry as the building block of the agreed syllabus. So we have cycles of inquiry that build together like Lego pieces to make a unit of study. And at Key Stage 3, a unit of study usually comprised in a term, and then the unit of study builds up to make a course of study to cover a key stage. And the building block of the cycle of inquiry is fairly much the same. The purpose statement that we've had for the last 5 years will remain the same, but we were bringing that to the agreed syllabus conference in the autumn. So it's really important that that autumn meeting is quorate. But to give SACRE as much of an opportunity to make sure that they hear what it is that we're proposing, there is a meeting on the morning of Wednesday, the 14th of July. That date has been in the diary for a while, since a meeting that we held last July, which some of you will have attended. So at that meeting on the morning of the 14th of July, there will be representatives from all 4 SACREs adopting the syllabus: Portsmouth, Southampton, Isle of Wight, and Hampshire. And what would be really helpful is if you plan to attend that, or you're interested to attend, could you please email Lisa Gallagher, our SACRE clerk, who can gather together the names of people who would want to attend that meeting. It will be a full morning, 9 till 12, so there will be plenty of opportunity to chew over the adjustments to the syllabus. But we would like as many people to be as well informed as possible before the agreed syllabus conference in the autumn. The other thing that we're running in, and this is, we also regularly run training for new SACRE members. So this is going to be separate on Monday, the 13th of September in the morning. And again, we try and run something every year. There are new members of SACRE from all the 4 authorities that use the same syllabus. We really want to say it's strongly advisable, highly recommended, if not heavier than that, but yeah, we would strongly recommend that people attend a SACRE training. This is not just about the agreed syllabus, but also about the history and the function and the role and responsibilities of SACREs too. So again, if you could, we'll put this in the minutes, but we won't have those. If you could also indicate to Lisa if you would like to attend the new SACRE members training, or indeed if you'd like a revision, a reprise of the roles and responsibilities of SACRE. So that's Monday the 13th of September. And for the wrap up of the agreed syllabus review, reflection across the SACREs, is Wednesday the 14th of July. Both of those will be run virtually. Yeah. I think that's the main thing, because we haven't got the review of the syllabus particularly on this agenda today.
Thank you very much, and thank you to all those who are being part of this reviewing syllabus moment. It's a very special thing to be involved with, and we look forward to hearing and seeing all that comes to light through the sessions that you're booking with us. So thank you. We're going to move on to item 10, the monitoring group report. Over to you again, Pat.
Okay, so the next item on the report is the monitoring group report. Again, would you like me to put this? This is a slightly longer report. Chair, would you find that helpful if I put that on my screen, or is it?
Would everybody like to see it? Is it easier? I think it is, and then we can still be looking. Oh, lots of thumbs up. Yeah, go for it.
That's okay. Hopefully we're here. Here we go. Hopefully everybody can see that. So yeah. If you remember, those of you new to SACRE, those of you who are old hands at SACREs, SACRE has 2 particular responsibilities, broad responsibilities, one of which is to ensure there is an agreed syllabus in place, one way or another to advise SACRE on what good religious education looks like, to advise the local authority on what good religious education looks like. And the second key responsibility is to monitor its effectiveness. And we do that in Portsmouth you do that in Portsmouth by holding a meeting around about a month or so prior to each SACRE meeting. And we try and make sure that there's representation from each of the 4 groups. And then we discuss some evidence, and then all the schools' names and everything are taken out of that for the report that's here. So what we'd like to do is to inform you of a monitoring subgroup that took place on the 27th of May. Broadly speaking, we took an update on any visits that had taken place. We discussed Key Stage 4 and an update on the most recent GCSE examination series. And we also discussed with delight that we had now had this youth participation in the SACRE. A little bit of a background and the names of the people that attended. We weren't able to make any explicit visits to schools since the last SACRE meeting, and also Ofsted are only making Section 8 visits, which are not reporting really on RE. We did discuss the extended commitment that teachers have put into ensuring that the teacher assessed grades were in place by now. And I think the monitoring group would like to very much thank Portsmouth teachers for the immense efforts that will have gone into that. We discussed the variety of ways in which we have both to stay in touch with schools and with teachers in Portsmouth, knowing that there has been a large number who are now part of academy trusts, but we know that the agreed syllabus is still used very widely there. So we're delighted that opportunities for training are offered through the primary network meeting that my colleague Justine Ball runs, and Portsmouth teachers are welcome to attend the secondary RE network meetings that are run in the mainland, as it were, virtually. And we ran this afternoon, and there was a Portsmouth teacher attended that meeting. So the monitoring group was really the place where we discussed the review of the agreed syllabus. And you can see here an overview of the key points that we discussed. One of the critical things has been the discussion going on in the RE nationally in relation to worldviews. This is a rapidly changing situation. And I think what has been decided for Living Difference 4, and I will be able to explore this more with you on the 14th of July, is in light of the still volatility of the situation nationally in relation to this, we're going to continue really to call this religious education, but we will have an extended appendices with thoroughly referenced of about 1,500 words that explains at the moment of publication, the position of Living Difference 4 in relation to the religion and worldviews discussion. In particular, really, that this isn't just about a change in title, it's more about a shift in approach to teaching RE. And I think that's fairly well accepted across the RE world now. By the way, myself and Sandra, who's here, sit on the RE Religious Education Council board. So hopefully you feel kind of fortunate in a way. Yeah, we have a level of expertise, and Sandra knows as well that there are some interesting decisions being made in the RE Council really at the moment. So we feel that's the most appropriate, because what we feel, as we've been reviewing Living Difference 4, that this move to a changing approach is already encompassed in the approach that we have to teaching RE here in Portsmouth. There will also be an appendix explaining the educational position and, in some manner or form, RE's potential in relation to mitigating racism Yeah, we have made some decisions in relation to progression, recognising that Key Stage 1 SATs will be disappearing during the lifetime of this syllabus. We're very cognizant of the early years and foundation stage changes that have been made. And so there are some elements to the syllabus that we have to make in light of legal changes outside of religious education. We've been in discussions with teachers at all phases of education, in particular taking heed of SEND. We've been making some progress with the directory document, and Reverend Sam Douglas has kindly taken forward the development of this, which will be hosted online together with Debbie from the authority. So, and the three-year action plan, which will be in line with the anticipated adoption of Living Difference 4, will come to our next meeting. And that's it from my point of view on this report.
Thank you so very much. I'd like to invite members of SACRE if you have any questions, and I understand this could be a bit complicated. So if you have a question and you can put it in the chat, please do. If you don't have chat, if you could raise a hand and I'll try and make sure I've noticed you, and I'll give a moment at the end if I miss anybody. So Sandra, would you like to go first? Your hand I can see.
And I can see Taki has also requested to speak.
Unmute, Sandra.
Sorry,
well done.
Just in terms of what Patricia was saying, Religious Education Council, I do think that we have to be very mindful of them promoting the recommendations of the Commission and just to discuss whether we would agree with all those recommendations, particularly in terms of the world views aspect, because until the law is changed, at the moment, we're still teaching religious education according to the agreed syllabus. So I do feel it's something we should just be mindful of. And although they talk about national entitlement, at the moment there is no national entitlement, as the law has not changed. I just wanted to draw attention to that.
Thank you very much. Do you need to comment on that one, Pat?
No, I very much what Sandra's said, and I think this was discussed to some extent at our last meeting as well. And it's really in light of the sort of research that we've been undertaking is that we won't be changing the name. We will be writing an appendix that develops the position. And my intention is to share a draft of that appendix with people who attend the meeting on the 14th, just for comment, not necessarily for adjustment, but for comment.
Thank you, that's very helpful. Next on the list, I'm just going to follow the list down so I don't miss anyone out, is Chris Thomas. Would you like to ask your question, Chris?
Yeah, thanks very much. In the report 3.4 paragraph there, it singles out the utility of RE in relation to xenophobia and racism. Clearly, all members of SACRE will be deeply committed to opposing and eradicating those two traits. But I was wondering why those were selected as particular points of issue rather than the many other things. The reason I raised that is because one could have an endless list of very needy areas, from ranging from climate change to, well, you could any area of social justice and everything else. I think my concern would be that if we specify some, it raises the question of why we don't specify others and so forth. So I'm interested in your thinking as to why those two are included.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point, Chris. And I think if SACRE members felt strongly that that shouldn't be in the appendix, we would, consider that. I think always when you're writing a syllabus, you're writing it in a particular context, in a particular climate, at a particular time. And there's no doubt that these issues have really come into the public domain in the last 2 years, especially, again, in relation to religion. One of the things that Justine, for example, my colleague who leads on the primary RE, her master's level research at the moment is in relation to the teaching of Jesus, for example, in particular taking into account Black theology, for example. And this has led us to think it's quite important to have at least a mention of it. And it relates in terms of the Ofsted review of RE to the representation of religion, and for ensuring that teachers, when they are making their choices about what to bring to the classroom, make thoroughly representative ones, and not ones that might unwittingly not do that, I could say. So it's not a, well, Chris.
Yeah, I can see the need for context and relevance and application. It's just that LD4 will govern the next 5 years, and no doubt pressing issues will come up. I would be inclined to feel that the best possible and broadest possible and deepest possible education and sort of equipping for religious literacy will enable young people to respond to all these pressing ethical and practical needs. So in some ways, my inclination would have been to leave it out, or leave out those specifications, because otherwise you either get a very big document or else, you know, it's canted in a particular direction, which in 5 years' time may look unsuitable.
I'll really take that into account and take that to Justine. Again, this is an appendix.
Sure.
But it may be the appendix would be better framed in terms of how we support teachers make choices about bringing material into the classroom. It's thank you.
Thank you for your patience.
No, it's SACRE's document, so
it's really important to tease these things out, isn't it? Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to Taki, you have a question.
Hi, thank you. My question has in part been asked by Chris as well. It was mainly around the classifications. So I think there's enough there for Patricia to take forward.
Thank you, Taki. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I'm going to continue unless somebody suddenly starts to speak now. Thank you very much for that report, and we carry on and move on to item 11, national and local update on RE.
Would it be useful to share this too?
Yes, I think that works really well.
Okay. I'm going to share, and then I'm going to unshare and share something else when I come to the Ofsted document. So the purpose of this report is to ensure that SACRE are well informed about events and discussions going on in the national RE world. And included in this, we will hear back from the colleagues in SACRE who represented Portsmouth SACRE at the National Association of SACRE. But we'll start with some information about the RE Council that Sandra and I have mentioned. So this is a membership organisation, and it may be when you go back to your own organisation or the body that you're representing here, you may want to discover who is representing your body at the RE Council, because this is a tremendous organisation that brings together, well, over 60, I think it's probably approaching 70 to be fair, organisations who, as I say here, have an interested position in relation to RE. So these include organisations that I'm part of, like ARIAC, the Association of RE Inspectors, and AORE, the Association of Religious Education Lecturers. But it also includes explicit distinct religious bodies, so a number of Christian denominations, a number of all other religions that are represented there, more than one in several different cases. Elizabeth sometimes attends RE Council meetings on behalf of the High, for example, and last year I was elected to the board, and then this year Sandra was elected again to the board. She served on the board for a long time, I think, very experienced member of the REC. So the important thing is that what does this body do? Well, it works with others to keep religious education in the national mind, you could say, of government, for example. And one of the things it did most recently was to commission the Commission on RE, the report of which was published in 2018. The body meets twice a year, so the full RE Council meets twice a year, and in former times it would meet in a religious place of different places, usually in London, and there would be a business part of the meeting as well as a more informal part of the meeting, a tour meeting and a speaker, for example. I think that's the main thing. So the RE Council met in May. One of the things the RE Council is aware of is keeping good communication with the members, with so many and so many disparate members, keeping really good communication with the activities of the board and the subgroups of the board and the members is something the RE Council is working very closely on at the moment. I don't know if it would be okay, Chair, to invite Sandra to see if she's got anything else to say about the RE Council's work at the moment.
Yes, indeed.
No, thank you for that, Patricia. I think you've covered it very clearly. At the moment, we had a strategy. Were you at the strategy meeting that we had yesterday? Did you attend the strategy meeting that we had yesterday, Patricia?
But I've been to all the others.
So just one other thing to add, that first of all, we've got a new chair, Sarah Lane Court, and a new deputy, so things are changing. And we had a strategy meeting yesterday, and the main focus of the strategy meeting was exactly as you described, Patricia, how we can engage with our members in a greater way in order to make them feel more valued, and also how we can have greater impetus with SACRE. So I think this is something that we're moving forward and moving towards. So, I mean, I agree with you, and I think it's an amazing organisation, because what is the greatest advantage is the diversity of faiths, non-faiths, world beliefs, and how we all get on so well together. So it's a wonderful example for everyone to take on board.
But it has been the RE Council who has been taking an initiative on looking to see how the recommendations of the Commission report can be implemented. And that is ongoing, and mindful also to hear the voices of, for example, as we've heard around the table today. So the second group that it has met since we last had our SACRE meeting is the National Association of SACREs. The National Association of SACREs is a very, very important body for us as SACREs. It also can speak on behalf of SACREs to government and other national places. So NASACRE is also a member organisation of the RE Council. So there is an interconnection there. I put a link to a report that has recently been published by SACRE with regarding to the funding of SACREs. And I think it would be very interesting if people were able to read that. However, our experience in Portsmouth is that the SACRE functions pretty well, I would say, with the three corners that enable that. That is a clerk within Democratic Services, so that's Lisa Gallagher, myself as professional advisor to SACRE, and then a chair that is appointed according to a well-reviewed, regularly reviewed constitution. All of those things are in good place and in good order, I would say, in the SACRE here. It's not always the case around the country. The recommendations of that report, as you can see, I precede here. Two are in relation to SACREs and to LAs, and two of them are to ministers, really regarding funding. But as I've mentioned, I think we'll find that Portsmouth SACRE is well supported. There was a meeting of the SACRE with its AGM, a virtual meeting on the 24th of May, and we have members of SACRE here who attended that. I'm wondering if, Sam, Chair, if I could hand back to you, and this would be the moment to hear from those who represented SACRE.
Thank you. Just before we do that, Councillor Susie has put her hand up. Susie, have you got a question?
It was just an additional comment that I think we are in a strong position here, but also I think that there's almost like a fourth bit, so not triangulated, it's the square, by having somebody from one of the officers who is there, because it used to be by Mike Stoneman and now Debbie doing that, in terms of looking at standards and improvements and school curriculum and everything. I think that lends it another big strength to it.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Thank you. Okay, moving on to the SACRE conference. Elizabeth, would you like to go first? I can't hear you.
Actually, I was working through most of it. I'm a member of the executive board, and so I'm probably not the best person to say anything, except that we usually get well under 100 people attending, and although we do usually get a good geographic spread, but this time we had over 200, and I'm not the world's greatest fan of Zoom or any of these things, but it does go to show that it does help in that sense. The other thing I wanted to say was that as usual, one of the things that are very good, but a problem with these conferences is the workshops, and they're very good, but the problem is that if there are two times for workshops and there's a selection from 10 or 15, you've got a real problem. And NASCA was very aware of this, and because it is very interesting, and this is a time when we need to know about these things. One of the workshops is effectively going to be replayed on the 22nd, and we've all been sent notification of that. And it's to do with having working with data and how you can get more data, what you do with it, how you work with it, how you go about explaining it to people, hopefully. Anyway, it's the 22nd. And we've got, there's nothing in there about paying, and I don't think it was ever mentioned at the meeting, so I'm assuming it's free. And I really, really recommend it. Some excellent, very knowledgeable people will be involved. And so I strongly recommend it for the 22nd of June. It's coming up next week.
Thank you very much. I know that Jane attended the meeting, as did I. I don't think there was anyone else from our SACRE there. So what I'll do is fill you in with, it was an extraordinary day, and it had its challenges, simply because sorting out the the rooms for the individual seminars didn't go to plan, but it did make it a more human experience. We can find sometimes as we're on these particular ways of working together that clustering together and jumping in and out of spaces can just seem technological rather than a human experience. And the two seminars I attended, forgive me because I, for some reason, have lost my notes in the chaos of my own world at the moment. So I can't tell you all the names and the places. But if you want to find anything out, it's all on the SACRE website, which is really helpful. So anything that sparks your interest, do go searching. One seminar I attended was about hermeneutics and about how religious texts are useful or not useful for us learning in our understanding of religions. And what was really interesting as we were listening to the person presenting from Canterbury University was he was saying how difficult it is to really assess what the impact is of RE and how useful it is to the individual child's learning. And so he was proposing that we look at texts presented in a way that's about narrative rather than this whole kind of learn this block a bit, learn this bit of extract, learn that bit of extract. Because at the end of the day, if you're teaching RE for an exam, that's one thing. But actually, if you're teaching RE because you want the child to learn or the pupil to learn something that's lifelong, it's going to be far more memorable if it's taught through storytelling and narrative. And that I found that really exciting. He did mention one of my favourite theologians, Schleiermacher. So if you see that, it's me shouting out, I'm afraid, Schleiermacher in the middle of his session. Thankfully, it wasn't too rude. So we carried on listening and learning about the impacts of RE, and with my social science masters, he really tweaked my thoughts about meta-narratives and how we assess and how we find out more about impact. And I'll just leave that one there. The other session I attended was really, really useful for us because we've just asked the question about our directory of places of worship. And I looked at and listened to somebody talking about how they set up a places of worship website. And on that, they've managed through lockdown to create films of interviews, socially distanced, all according to all the rules. Create a set of interviews that are filmed for people to watch and to be used in schools. And what's really unique about the work they did was they managed to take an interview in a Hindu temple, and that's particularly rare. So worth finding that one out on the SACRE website. Added to those films, and the footage was beautiful, just individual people talking about what their faith means to them in their place of worship, and what's meaningful and what's not meaningful, and how we understand meaning for ourselves. Also, there's good paperwork, which I did. I wasn't able to attend the last SACRE syllabus meeting, SACRE meeting. So I sent ahead a form suggested to go up on our website for the City Council, which gives a good idea for how to ask for information for places of worship for the directory. And also there's other really good helpful things about how we contact schools and have good practice and things. So I found that particularly useful and was able to send it on. I understand I might have provoked some questions. So Taki, would you like to go first?
Sorry, I didn't request to speak. I do apologise.
Oh no,
that was historical.
It might be an old one, and I've just thought I'd missed you. Forgive me.
No, it was the old one. I do apologise.
No, it's me, not you. Okay, Debbie.
Hi there, thank you. It was really going back to the SACRE, and thank you, Susie, for your comment about how actually I think our Portsmouth SACRE and joining up those four parts, as you said, is really important. And I've really enjoyed, since taking up my post in September, working with Patricia. And in fact, I think we do value religious education teaching very highly in Portsmouth. And part of that is the work that I've done to commission Patricia doing some training in our schools and her colleague Justine to actually lead a termly primary RE subject leader network, which actually I pay for out of my school improvement budget. So it's actually free for schools to attend, and it's been really well attended. I mean, I think we had the summer term meeting was held just as the children and the teachers came back after the May half term, and we had, I think it was about 14, 15 primary subject leaders attending that after school virtually. So I just wanted to make that point, that I think our SACRE and our working with schools is in a strong place, and you know, if we're talking about investment and valuing it, then that's what I'm using some of my funding for.
Oh, that is absolutely super. And actually at the conference, those kinds of issues were touched on as well, you know, how are teachers being able to gather? And I do think, from what I've been hearing as well, to reiterate what's been said, is that what we do here in Portsmouth is unique, and we are utterly blessed to have Patricia Hannam with us as well. I've just noticed Sheikh Fazl Abbas, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Reverend Sam. Greetings of peace to all. The report presented by Patricia is informative, and I would just like to ask a question with regards to the last paragraph on page 1 of state and religious education. I was just wondering, as a matter of my personal information, where it says that the key aspect of the report is that academies must also arrange for RE to be taught to all pupils. So I was wondering, just like in the elementary schools, we have the SACRE, which provides support and also provides monitoring. What would be the mechanism for monitoring the arrangements or the teaching of RE in academies?
Can I respond? I was going to go on in a moment to talk at greater length about the Ofsted review document. If we've done with the SACRE, shall we use that for me to respond to Sheikh Fazal?
It feels like, is there anybody who would like to ask anything about the SACRE? Otherwise, we will just move on. I think we're done. Carry on.
Okay, I mean, that's a very... So I've given the headlines in the report. I have got a couple of PowerPoint slides that I could show that give a little more detail that I think might be useful. But in terms of Portsmouth academies, the situation is that all schools in Portsmouth are welcome. I think this is Portsmouth's situation, are welcome to use the locally agreed syllabus if they choose as the guiding force for their RE in their schools, and indeed many do. The network meeting that Debbie arranges, that Justine runs, and I'm sorry we didn't mention that more explicitly in the monitoring report. It's very, very important. Again, there will be many academies, I'm sure, that were attending that meeting. So, and likewise with the network meeting in the mainland, as it were, that I run, all of the Portsmouth schools are welcome to attend. So I would think we would say there is a syllabus, it's really good, and there is as much support for you to use it as any other teacher across the authority. So that's the main thing, really, I think. Does that respond enough?
Thank you.
Yeah. I've got a few slides that
If I can come in, I can answer your question on behalf of who monitors academies RE, if that's acceptable.
Yes, do carry on.
Okay, so because I work for Ofsted, so Obviously, academies actually are not duty bound to be part of SACRE, but they do have a DFE, and when they set up their contract with the DFE, RE will be part of that. But the people that they're accountable to are actually Ofsted. So when they're inspected, an inspector will say to them, what are the realms within your contract for the teaching of RE? And they have to show that they're able to fulfil that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
academies are accountable only to Ofsted in terms of their RE.
Yeah. But how we've chosen to phrase it here is that if they'd like to use the agreed syllabus, they're welcome. And in general, we've had a positive connection, but that's a very important thing. And we explored that when we revisited the determinations policy. So this is a kind of adapted presentation that I've also used with teachers, but I think it gives a little bit of background. And it is important, if any of us are working in schools, to appreciate the where this sits with the work that we're doing. It's a 60-something page report, fairly dense, but it comes in a context. And it comes in a context of Ofsted moving in the last few years to being more interested in curriculum, whereas over perhaps from 2013 for a number of years, Ofsted were more interested in other accountability measures. In the latter part of the 2000s and teens, Ofsted became more interested in curriculum and appreciated the importance of subjects as individual disciplines. This is pretty much taken from Ofsted phase 3 position of the way they were reviewing curriculum. So the report that we have, or the review document that we have about RE, has not come out of nowhere, if you like. It is sitting within a much bigger context. And the interest is in relation to curriculum quality. Now, this is taken from a 2018 document. And here we get these words, intention and implementation, and there's a third one of impact. That Ofsted are interested to see that schools are establishing their curriculum carefully and thoughtfully, and that there is suitable progression. And I wanted to reassure SACRE that all the work that we're doing with Living Difference for review is very much in line with this. The document is not one of the main audiences is going to be for Ofsted inspectors, to ensure that all Ofsted inspectors know what they're looking at when they meet RE, and also to inform what is called a deep dive. So when and if or how Section 5 inspections are resumed, we anticipate in September, this document will be guiding those things. And really what we found is that there is an alignment with Living Difference approach and what we're reading in the report, the review. What's interesting is that there is a refocusing on knowledge. And indeed, this is a pattern that's emerging in the science and the maths and the RE reports that are the ones first published. And we're looking towards a history research review being published later in the summer. One of the things, as we've mentioned, is the Ofsted subject review document emphasizes the locally agreed syllabus as the law for local authority, and other schools can use it. It emphasizes there's no single way of achieving high quality RE. It explores some of the literature. There may be some elements that are missing, but really we want to make sure that Ofsted inspectors are well informed about RE. Some other key points is it notes that local authorities, most local agreed syllabus recommend particular amount of time, as does Living Difference 4 and Living Difference 3. That isn't contentious at all. It refers to building blocks of knowledge. So really this document is to guide to give some guidance about what good curriculum in RE looks like. And this phrase jumped out at me, is that we need to help teachers ensure that there is cumulatively sufficient content. It's not that it's just about knowledge transmission, but we need to make sure there's a balance here, that there is cumulatively sufficient content. And in the review of the agreed syllabus, we are doing a little bit to make sure that there is that accumulation, that the knowledge that's explored in year 6 builds on what has gone before through the primary school, for example. There is emphasis on a naming of 3 types of knowledge. Now, this notion of substantive knowledge is there in all of the reports that have been published so far, and it's very likely to be there in the history one. So that's like what the stuff, if you like, that we're communicating. In this review, there is mention of something called ways of knowing. How we're interpreting that in my conversations with the Ofsted HMI is that there's perhaps ways of studying religion. And of course, as I'll explain, in our cycle of inquiry, we have plenty of opportunity for that. There is also mention of personal knowledge. And as I'll go on to show, we have plenty of opportunity for that. In fact, I think in Living Difference approach, which is ultimately a pedagogical proposal for RE. So the Living Difference that we've inherited in Portsmouth since 2004 really has at its heart a pedagogical proposal, a cycle for inquiry outlined at all key stages, and ensures that clear approach to teaching knowledge, but it is not limited to knowledge transmission alone. On knowledge, just a quick, we could explore this in more detail, but at another time, but the knowledge debate in RE is an old one that goes back a long way, and I am not going to explore that here, but that it is a vibrant discussion, you could say, between philosophers of education who come from a analytic school of philosophy, perhaps a humanistic one, and the debate is in the literature. And the question is really around, to be honest, whether religious knowledge has the same sort of status as scientific knowledge. And there is disagreement there. So I don't propose to get involved in that debate, but as to say, if anybody wants to explore this, I'm sure there will be a flurry now of more literature in relation to this. However, the substantive knowledge that is mentioned in the review document really refers to the subject knowledge about religions and worldviews, and we have plenty of opportunity for that, and also the ways of knowing in the inquire and contextualize step in our pedagogical proposal. The personal knowledge is also very well balanced in relation to the communicate and apply step, where we invite children to reflect on their experience. We always start with experience, and there's 20 years of literature to support this approach. And then we wrap up with the evaluate step, where children and young people explore or discern what is of value for people of faith as well as themselves. So I think in relation to this substantive knowledge, we can use that term. Ways of knowing, we're probably not going to use that language, but the intention is very, very well covered here. The review states that for subject leaders to plan precise, accurate representations of religion and non-religious traditions, I mean, that should go without saying, but I think our approach to religion in Living Difference is very much, and it relates back to the question that Chris asked earlier, is very much to ensure that teachers are well trained and that religions are represented accurately in the classroom. There was an interesting comment that if there were depth studies only in the Abrahamic traditions and not the Dharmic traditions, but likewise, that is very important for us, and we'll talk more about this in July. Yeah. All of this we feel is very much appropriate. I've been talking to teachers about the importance of emphasising the need for both formative and summative assessments in other ways for written tests, and then supporting children. Formative assessment normally refers to something like a written, not always a test, but something that's more written. And summative is more how the teacher encourages and nurtures the children to move forward. And that's really my presentation to you on the Ofsted. My overall view is it's a very useful document if it ensures that Ofsted inspectors are well trained, and if it enables us to emphasise the importance of the agreed syllabus and getting sufficient time. That's helpful. I think, if you don't mind, Sam, my own hunch, it would also be helpful. Sandra's got experiences on. Would you be having something to add here, Sandra?
No, thank you very much, Patricia. It's been very comprehensive. And as I wrote in the chat, if everyone's got my email address, I'm really happy to help anyone if they want any further information. Thank you.
Patricia, 2 people have asked for copies of the PowerPoint presentation. Is that possible for you to send to Debbie Lucas and Debbie Anderson?
I'll, yes.
Yes, and is there anybody else who would have liked?
Is now exiting.
We'll send that.
Elizabeth.
We're preparing in Hampshire, we're preparing something that can be, my colleagues will share with head teachers, primary and secondary, and more or less this was used as the basis of that. I'm probably going to produce a written text for secondary head teachers and governors as well. I mean, it's important, I think, that people realise that this isn't replacing anything. This is supporting, I think. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's super. Does anybody have any questions, comments about the PowerPoint and Ofsted?
Sheikh Fazal has his hand up, but I don't know if that's what we're
That
calling.
might be a legacy hand. Unless he wants to speak anyway. Okay, I'd like to propose that we note this report. As it's got so much content in it that's highly valuable. Thank you so much for the work you've done. Thank you, Sheikh. Thank you for the work you've done there, Patricia. It's a lot to do, and keeping us, up to date is really, really important. So thank you for that. Do I need to do anything else when we say that we're going to note something, or do I move on? No, thank you. Item 12, that is the date and venue of our next meeting. The next meeting is scheduled to be on the 3rd of November 2021. The agreed syllabus conference will take place at 3:30 p.m. and the SACRE main meeting will be at 4:30 p.m. or at the conclusion of the agreed syllabus conference, whichever is earlier. SACRE members are asked to consider whether they would wish to continue to meet virtually due to the COVID-19 risks, or have a meeting that is face-to-face.
May I come in, Sam?
Yes, please do. No, go on.
Teacher. Well, I live in London, so much as I would love to come and visit Portsmouth, and I'm really keen to be part of the group, it would be very hard for me to come in real life.
Would we want to do a mixed mode where we can meet face to face, but also make sure those who feel uncertain or can't arrive, can't come due to being too far away, that there seems to be a nodding around. I don't know how that works, Lisa. Maybe you need to advise us.
Yeah, I don't think at the moment we've got the capabilities to do a hybrid meeting. So it would either have to be face to face or virtual. not sort of a mixture, if that makes sense. Unfortunately.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I'm just thinking about how I work in another world, but I need to learn this one as well. That's a shame, really. But do we need to make the decision now, Elizabeth?
Yeah, I was just going to say, given the changeability of these things, and particularly the fact that it'll be going into winter, can we postpone deciding until beginning of October maybe, or something like that, when we have a better idea of what the situation is and what people are going to feel comfortable going into or traveling to, which may be a concern for some people?
Yes, I think that sounds wise. So are we all in agreement and happy to just press the pause on how we meet in the future and just see how we go?
It might be wise to tentatively book a room or something, but you know.
Well, if nothing else, I have a church. So if we can't find another location, you can come to St. Nicholas, and we'd love to have you socially distance or whatever we're allowed to do. So don't worry about that. And then on top of that, I think maybe your suggestion to wait, I think people are smiling more and feeling a bit more comfortable and nodding fiercely. So let's go with that. Any more comments? Anything I've missed? Thank you very much for participating in this meeting, and it is time to close. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. I'll just go and stop the live streaming for you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you and congratulations, Sam.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam, and thank you, Susie.